So, hazmat and tanker endorsements. I went and did my test for both on Monday. Um, it was not too bad, really. Um, my recommendations on studying for the test and also for taking the test. So, the section in the manual for the commercial driver's license manual on hazmat is relatively long, and it's quite boring to read, I must say. Um, I honestly don't believe that I read through the entire thing. The tanker endorsement section, I think, is about 3 pages, something like that. That is about equally as boring, but it just doesn't take as long to get through it. So we ended up using more and more online practice tests. We had a couple of recommendations for us. I'll try to see if I can provide those links. I don't know. Still pretty new to this YouTube stuff. But there are a lot of free practice tests that you can do for both hazmat and for tanker. I did most of my studying with those. And most of the questions were questions that were actually on the test. So yeah, like I said, Carrie's going in tomorrow to do her tests. I have some recommendations for her, and maybe some for you as well. Some tips for passing your hazardous materials endorsement test along with your tanker endorsement. So this was the first endorsements that I've, or any type of driving test that I ever did on the computer at the Secretary of State's office here in Michigan. All my past experiences have been with paper tests, so that was a little bit different. Years and years ago, I did have my my hazmat endorsement. That one I didn't really study like I should have. I went in there and I took the test, and that was the first one I've ever failed. That was probably the first driving test endorsement, anything that I ever got anything wrong on. So I was pretty devastated. But at the time, taking those paper tests, the attendant there, the clerk there at the Secretary of State's office said, here's another one. Just go take it again. You can sit here all day long and take them until you pass. So on my second attempt, I was successful and was able to get that endorsement. But now they have it all on the computer screens. And so my tip for you and for Carrie is I believe there are 30 questions for the hazardous materials endorsement, and I believe that there are 20 for the tanker endorsement. I did my hazmat test first. And so what you are allowed to do is, as you're going through the test, if you're not sure of the answer of a question, you may skip it and come back to it later. So that's what I did. I went through, as I was going through, if I wasn't 100% sure of the answer of the question, I would skip it. I believe you can skip and just kind of scroll through these as many times as you want, and until you run out of answers or questions or both. So kind of early on in my hazmat test, I got one wrong, and I was a little bit worried. But I kept to my game plan, and those that I knew 100% for sure, I answered. Those that I didn't, I skipped. And before too long, I was at the end of my questions. I'd went through all of them. So I still had one or two that I needed to answer before I passed. So I skipped. I scrolled through one or two more of the questions, reviewing those. And the one that I felt, when I got to one that I felt relatively confident that I knew the answer to the question, I went ahead and answered it. And I did that once or twice and was able to answer both those questions successfully. So passed the hazmat test. Did the same thing for tanker. On that one, I got one wrong too. So I skipped through a couple and made like probably at least one educated guess. But that's what I would suggest doing. As far as studying goes prior to, the hazardous materials section of the commercial driver's license manual is quite long and it's quite boring. It's very hard to keep focused on that. I don't think I actually read through the whole thing. I tried a few times. Got the highlighter out. I was doing different things to try to focus on that, but it's boring. It truly is. So what we ended up doing, and what Carrie's continuing to do, is there's a lot of practice tests online. They're free, and that's what I used, and just kept on reviewing those, answering the questions until we could basically answer each and every question correctly. What I did notice that on the actual test, many of the questions were the same as what was on the practice test. So that's my suggestion that worked for me, and it's going to work for Carrie. I have no doubt that hey, read through as much as you can stand on reading through the commercial driver's license manual and the hazmat and tanker endorsements. But if you focus on those practice tests, if you take the test at the DMV or wherever it is that you go to do your endorsements, utilizing that skip feature and coming back to the questions that you're not quite sure on, but answering the ones that you are 100% sure on, I really think that you're going to be successful in taking your endorsement tests. So that's the tip of the day. So I hope everybody has a great day, and until next time, see you later. Bye.